Hi everybody, this is Joe Rizoli for Rizoli TV. Part of this Rizoli TV presentation is going to be Rizoli on religion, dealing with basically the Christian heritage of us in Massachusetts, dealing with some incidences at Plymouth Plantation, the Forefathers Monument, and things related to that. What you're going to see in this presentation later on is a presentation by Leo Martin. He gives us a tour of the Forefathers Monument, which is a monument that a lot of people probably haven't even heard about, even though it's probably the largest granite monument in the United States. And Leo shows you how that monument comes into being, talking about our Christian heritage. Very interesting discussion. What I'm going to do in this segment, before that though, I'm going to go into the history of Plymouth Plantation, but I'm going to go into it in a little bit different way because most people don't know that the way they see Plymouth Plantation isn't the original way that Plymouth Plantation was supposed to have been shown. People have hijacked our history. People that really have no love for Christianity and where our country came from. Many people don't know that when the pilgrims came over on the Mayflower, they signed what was called the Mayflower Compact, which basically brought God into the picture. But you don't see most people referring to that. I'm going to bring up some interesting things about Plymouth Plantation that you probably don't know about, and I'm going to just talk about it. Let's see here. We got some stuff I have on my computer. If you go into Plymouth Plantation, you're going to see this is actually I got this on the internet, and you're going to see some pretty interesting pictures of Plymouth. This is one when you come into Plymouth, welcome to Plymouth Plantation, it says, and then you're going to see the story and the culture of the English colonist. And then it says, welcome to the 17th century. And, then you come through and you see all the beautiful buildings. And, of course, some of these pictures were taken on a building that you may not even know about. But we'll get back to that in a second. So anyways, these are some of the pictures that you'll see in Plymouth, how people lived and the structures they had there. And, it's actually it's a quite interesting visit if you get a chance to go there when you see a lot of these things here, a lot of the old artifacts, some of the things here, the bedding. But, they're not showing you too much of their Christian history, which we will get into in a second. But so as we go down, you'll see these pictures. And they're pretty interesting. But we're going to be coming up to a picture let's see here, right here. I don't know if you can see this, but this is an interesting picture, and it's actually called, if you look at it, the Meeting House. See the writing underneath that, the Meeting House. When you come into Plymouth Plantation, you wouldn't even know what this was, because when you go into it, you see up top these guns, cannons, on top of the building. But do you know that this was actually the religious building for the pilgrims? This is where they had all their sermons on, and they talked for hours about God. And yet, when you come into Plymouth Plantation, you will never see anybody really talk about this. In fact, we're going to be getting into a book now that goes into some of these discussion about this. And this book, I'm going to show it to you right here, is called, and as you can see it right there, Rewriting America's History. This was done by a woman named Catherine Millard. I'm not sure if you can see the top of her name, but it says Catherine Millard. And what she does is she shows in this book how they have rewritten Christian history. And in particular, you're going to see how they have rewritten Plymouth Plantation. So we're going to get into that in a bit right now. Now, when you get into Plymouth Plantation, there's a couple of books that you're probably going to read. One of them is Bradford's History of Plymouth Plantation. And it says here, as you can see here, and I'm bringing this up in the background to read to you, it says, the first 9 chapters of Plymouth Plantation are devoted to the history of the Christian church prior to their arrival at Cape Cod on November of 1620. Did you know that? Did you know that the first 9 chapters are devoted to the history of the Christian church? So was Christianity really very important to these people? Well, according to Plymouth Plantation, it was, and according to this book. On page 19 of this book, it says here, and as you know, when the pilgrims came over here, they signed what was called the Mayflower Compact. And this was a charter, and it says it right here, and I will show this to you. It says, it was a charter which they drew up and signed, electing their own offices and binding themselves to work together for the common Christian faith and the common good. Did you know that? Well, that's what was brought out in this book. Now notice, as we go on in the book, and I'm going to show you this again, so we can pound this into our heads here. It says, for the glory of God, and in yellow, in the advancement of the Christian faith. As we go on in the book, on page 21, it says here, and this is very interesting, it says, so far as we know, not a person now living in the land of the pilgrims have ever seen this manuscript. Now, what was very, very interesting about this manuscript is that Plymouth Plantation was lost. Nobody knows what happened to it. It ended up in England. Right? Now, so what we're going to see here, I will read above the yellow. It says, this priceless document of Plymouth Plantation was lost for many years to America until 1858. The Reverend Dr. John Waddington, having borrowed the manuscript from Fulham, England, showed it to an audience in Southwark, saying, so far as we know, not a person now living in the land of the pilgrims has ever seen this manuscript. It has been kept at Fulham among the papers of no use to the sea. It is not in the catalogue of the library and probably is not reckoned in any inventory of the property. No one can tell how it came to Fulham. Can you believe that? One of the most important works, one of the most rarest documents of the United States that we've ever had of Plymouth Plantation, written by Governor Bradford, got lost for how many years? 1858, from the 1600s to 1858, nobody knew about this book. And nobody had any idea what was written about it. And yet, it tells a tremendous amount of the Christian heritage of Plymouth Plantation. Now, as we go on, we're going to see here an interesting thing. One of the things that we have talked about in previous shows was what's called a National Monument to the Forefathers. Now, this monument was dedicated at this monument on August 1st, 1889, as you can see here, and here's what it says. It says, this monument where virtue, courage, law, and learning sit, calm faith above them, grasping holy writ. White hand unpraised, o'er beauteous trusting eyes, and pleading finger pointing to the skies. And that was done by John Boyle O'Reilly. Now, this monument to the forefathers, I have, I believe I have, let me see here, I have other pictures denoting this. It's actually in this presentation here. I'm not sure if I have all the pictures. Well, I don't have the pictures here right at the moment. But we deal with the Forefathers Monument in previous shows. In fact, Leo Martin is going to be going into the Forefathers Monument, so I don't really think I really have to show you any of the pictures of that. But anyways, the concern deals with, like I said, Plymouth Plantation and what really happened in Plymouth Plantation. So we're going to go here. This is the cannon. You know, you come in there, you see the cannon on top of the roof, but you don't know anything about the building itself. As we go on, we're going to maybe go into a little more about this, dealing with the religious aspects of this place. Now, as I look on my computer, it's hard for me to see because I don't have my glasses on. We're going to be going into, let me see, as we go into the document, okay, we're right here. We went to this one, and now we're going to go to this one, the Forefathers, and we are going to go to the next part of this. It says here, and I will bring this up in the back. It says, in spite of this great weight of evidence pertaining to the Christian origins of our nation and the pilgrims' stalwart faith and trust in Almighty God and His Son Jesus Christ, it is once again flabbergasting to read current historical accounts of the Mayflower pilgrims in Plymouth Colony. Some of these are excerpted as follows. I don't think we're going to read every single thing, but let's read this though, because this is very interesting. It says, the Plymouth Plantation Visitor's Guide literature concentrates on the externals, the dress, costumes, crafts, dwellings, manners, dialect, 17th century style of furniture, and worldview of the English colonists and the Wampanoag Indian tribe, leaving out the true identity of Plymouth Plantation, the quest of the Pilgrim Fathers and their followers for biblical freedom in America. They have braved the hazardous ocean for the cause of gospel truth, away from religious persecution by the established state church in England, in order to establish Plymouth Colony. The whole concept of naming and meaning of Plymouth Plantation is entirely bypassed, leaving out the pilgrims' exemplary day-to-day Christian lives, culture, and manner of worship, together with their zeal to evangelize the Indians. So that's what's happened in Plymouth Plantation today. The people who have taken it over have revised histories. So you don't see Plymouth Plantation as a Christian thing. You just see it as a general, well, this is how people came here and lived, and they don't really mention anything about their Christian heritage. But as this book brings out, you will see that. Here, let's go on and read more of what's in this book. It says, to reach Plymouth Plantation, one has to enter through a building which now serves as a thoroughfare for all tourists entering and exiting the sacred site. No markers, plaques, or literature within or without the structure indicated its true identity, that of the meeting house or place of worship, which was the beacon and center of life for these pilgrims, who had risked their lives to abide by God's words. Now notice, a very important point here. Pew benches were pushed to either side, being used as a waiting room. The pulpit was in the shade to the left as one walked through, and hardly decipherable, with no plaque or informative historic literature explaining its great value and significance in the daily life of the pilgrims at Plymouth Plantation. Now imagine that, and we showed that in some pictures, as you see right